news and stuff. My name is Ricky Stukey. Today, I will be interviewing people such as President Truman, President Eisenhower, and also a teenager from the 1950s. I wonder if there's a person who will be willing to answer a few questions. Look, there's a teenager. She looks like she'd be willing to answer a few questions for me. My questions are right here, so let's see if I can catch up to her. Excuse me, ma'am, are you busy?
No.
You mind if I ask you a few questions on the 1950s?
Sure.
All right, well, the first question I have to ask you is how has the GI Bills impacted our economy?
I think it did really good. It helped the soldiers, find jobs, get houses, especially the ones who are poor, it helped them want to go into school and better their education.
All right, thank you. What was it like living in the suburbs, if you don't mind me asking?
It was crazy, it was like really, really cool. It's like a new generation, better living, better housing. It really impacted society really well.
Can I ask you another question? How often do you watch TV?
All the time, every night. Me and my family will sit around the living room watching I Love Lucy, which is so funny.
So since you watch a lot of TV, can I ask you how TV has impacted society?
I think it helped bring families together, It's a time where families can get together and have that family time,
All right, and what kind of music do you listen to?
I listen to rock and roll.
Since you listen to rock and roll, how has rock and roll impacted your society?
It has definitely changed the fact of what parents used to listen to and what teenagers now listen to,
Right,
like
of course.
Elvis Presley, the way that he dances, the way that he sings, it's different than what my parents used to.
So since it's a little hot out here, would you mind answering the rest of these questions and going into the library over there?
Not at all.
All right, well, let's get on our way. All right, so the next question I have to ask you is going to be, how has the increased number of African American entertainers impacted the race relations in the United States?
I think people are starting to notice African American entertainers, Some are still cruel towards us, but, some are appreciative, They're starting to see African Americans as them.
All right, thank you for that answer. The next question I have to ask you is, describe your feeling after the Brown versus Board verdict.
I felt justice was served, Not only does white people want to have educations, blacks do too, and I think it was really brave for that woman to stand up for her daughter. So,
do you know anything about Rosa Parks?
I do.
Can you tell me how will America remember Rosa Parks in, say, 50 years from now?
I think she'll go down as the woman who took a stand, She got tired of being pushed around, and, her actions showed that African Americans can stand up for their rights too.
Okay, thank you. So can you do me just a few more questions and So just a few more questions. The next thing I'm going to ask you is, can you describe your feelings when you saw the Little Rock Nine enter school?
I thought they were insane, Nobody is going to accept blacks going to school with white people. But, I saw the courage that they did, and it brought the courage out of me, So I'll be starting school next week.
That's good to hear. The next thing I have to ask you is, how has the Red Scare impacted society?
It impacted a lot of fear. My parents, actually, there are times that they wouldn't let me out the house because they were afraid of something bad was going to happen to me.
So because of the Red Scare, in your life particular, you have been also impacted by this, right?
Yes, I have.
Besides not letting you out the house, is there anything else that has been caused of this?
No, just certain books that I've seen that were off limits to people.
Okay. So some say that there has been a push for social conformity. How do you agree or disagree?
I disagree, I think parents are blowing this way out of the waters, They're just kids trying to have fun. I'm not really into the activities, though, but it's very exciting to see.
How do you explain the recent concern over juvenile delinquency?
Uh, their style is very different, greased hair, leather jackets.
So if their style is so different from yours, what is exactly your style?
Just neat, clean, colorful.
Right. All right. Well, I appreciate the questions and the answers that you provided me with. You definitely helped me on my search today.
You're welcome.
So after our little trip out of the studio, I'm here again recording, this time President Truman. So today I'll be asking President Truman a few questions. The first question is going to be based on the Truman Doctrine, discussing the impact. The next question will reflect the crisis in Iran, also the Marshall Plan, the Berlin Airlift, and the Korean War, also the Rosenberg's impact on our country, Joseph McCarthy, and his overall feeling on his presidency. So, without further ado, let me introduce you guys to President Truman. Thank you, Ricky, for having me in your studio. So today, guys, my name is President Truman. Well, former President Truman. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about here's his questions that he had me ask. But today I'm going to be talking to you guys first about the Truman Doctrine. So basically the Truman Doctrine is going to be us supporting Greece and Turkey economically and troops. Many people call this the start of the Cold War. The next thing I'm going to be talking to you guys about is the crisis in Iran. The crisis in Iran. Although I feel they were rightfully angered, I am very glad this is over, because the missile crisis of Iran was a very scary time for us and for everybody else around the world. The next thing on the list to talk to you guys about today is going to be the Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan, also known as the ERP, the European Recovery Program, did exactly the name. It helped European countries recover. The impact was the countries recovered. The next thing is going to be the Berlin Airlift. This showed us, the winners, helping the losers. It also allowed democracy to stride and for people to see what kind of country you can be if you're Democrats. It helped us look better, and it also helped the people. The reasons for entering the Korean War was very simple. It was to stop and control the spread of communism. The capture and execution of Rosenberg did very many things for our country, but the main things that it did was it brought justice to the people who deserved it. It eased some people's pain, although I'm not sure how it did. This is what they said. It eased people's pain. McCarthy. The next topic that Ricky had asked me to talk to you guys about is McCarthy and his ideas and his downfall. Basically, McCarthy was the person who started McCarthyism, which is basically a very anti-communist person. This man would put people on trial, test people's beliefs, and make sure that everybody wasn't a communist. Basically, he accused everybody from government officials to regular school teachers to somebody he saw walking across the street. This man made one mistake, though. He started calling the army communist, and by doing so, he lost everybody's respect, and eventually, nobody believed him anymore. So, that was his downfall. Basically, he bit the hammer on the head and lost it. The final question that Ricky has asked me is going to be, why didn't I run for re-election? Also, do I feel as though my presidency was a success? So this is kind of a personal opinion question, but basically, the reason I'm not running for election again, as I'm 68 years old. First of all, my beard's starting to get a little white. I'm getting up there in age, and I feel as though I would be an extreme underdog in the election. Not to everybody, but there's certain people like Eisenhower who I feel as though I would be an underdog in. 7 years ago, I actually wrote in a letter that I never released publicly saying that I wouldn't be running for election again. But it's kind of a personal choice. But to ask me if I feel as though my presidency was a success, this is the utmost question. I do feel as though my presidency was a success, solely because of the impact I've made on our country, and the ability that I've been able to do this was because of the great people of America. Today, guys, we have President Eisenhower in the studio. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the president himself, Mr. Eisenhower. Hello, guys. My name is President Eisenhower. I want to thank, first of all, Ricky for having me here in the studio. The next people I want to thank is you guys watching this right there at home. Basically, you guys, as you know, I'm your president, but I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in right now if it wasn't for you guys, and for that, I'm thankful. So the first question Ricky has had me answer, basically, is going to be the more bang for your buck theory. And brinkmanship. Basically, what we're saying in this is relying on nuclear weapons and weapons as such, rather than a big army. So it kind of scares them, and it wouldn't cost as much, save a couple of thousand lives of American soldiers. Basically, the next thing is going to be, am I happy with the results of the Korean War? Yes, I am happy with it, mainly because this has strengthened my hand in Europe. It's made me have a little bit more of a say. It's made me have a little bit more respect, and it's also led to a better outcome. Why did the government feel necessary to develop the CIA? So why did the government feel it necessary to develop the CIA? Basically, it's for you guys' safety at home. The CIA basically is going to help keep our people safe abroad and at home. Basically, what the CIA is there for is to protect, serve this country. Ricky also asked me what the Eisenhower Doctrine was. The Eisenhower Doctrine basically says that any Middle East country who feels threatened can and will call on America for support, whether it be economically for one, troops on the ground for two, or anything they feel is they need to not only feel safe, but to pressure off the opponent. The U2 basically caused tensions to grow between us and Russia, mainly because it's a competition, the Cold War. Basically, the Cold War is a competition between us, so them producing a satellite kind of made the tensions grow. Some recent medical advances that can be notable are CPR. This saved many of lives. And antibiotics. Most antibiotics right now that have been created, I'm sure will be used for years to come, and they've saved countless of soldiers, people, my family, my friends, your family, your friends. So basically, the idea behind the Federal Highway Act is going to be easy traveling for one, the sale of goods for two. It's going to drive down prices because it's going to be easier to transport goods, to get it from town to town, city to city, country to wherever else. Easier to get to a port of a dock, anything like that. It's going to also give our people jobs for the next 10 years. It's going to just make the country an all-around better place. Overall, do I feel my presidency has been a success? Yes, I do feel as though my presidency has been a success. Not because of just my personal opinion, but because of the reflection that you guys have bestowed upon me. Basically saying that I have helped you better yourself. And that's what my job is.